Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Autopsy with Maddie P. I'm your host, Maddie P. Girl. What is cracking, queen? I missed my Thursday episode, and I have just had a lot going on. Okay, to no one's surprise, I am still trying to figure out my future. And, to be honest, I'm in good spirits, but, I sit in front of you a reject of nearly any institution or anything to ever exist that could potentially hire somebody. So there's that. And today I am, for the first time pretty much ever, did not really plan today's podcast. I have a topic in mind, but I was taking time to think, I'm just talking from the heart today, okay? So as you all know, I was making day in my life TikToks, and I was trying to utilize TikTok to grow the podcast, and it felt just really influencer to me. And I was really struggling with my body image constantly being on TikTok. We've talked about this. And just the way I see myself and success in my future. And I took a break for a month from social media. And when I came back, I was opening TikTok and was just getting these deep gut-wrenching feelings. And I couldn't even open the app to scroll. So I have still not been on TikTok in coming up on 2 months, y'all. And it just got me thinking, the reason I started this podcast, the reason I even sit here and continue to do it is simply because I want to help other people and to document not only my sobriety journey, but my healing journey and the things that I've learned along the way, and just kind of talk about it, because I wish somebody had been there for me. And there's plenty of people there for me, but in terms of these questions that I just felt couldn't be answered, as you all know, I say it every few episodes. And what was I going to say? Oh, and so I was thinking to myself during this whole process, I have not sat down with myself and been what do you really want? And I can't believe that hadn't arisen in me at any point, to just sit and be silent and ask what I want. And asking a girl like me what she wants is kind of difficult, because it's to not work, to do whatever I want. So it's can I really trust what I want, And upon reviewing, I definitely assessed that I am tired of being in turmoil about my future. And that I just want to keep creating. So I don't know. I took an assessment break with the pod, and here we are. We're back again. And I guess this is somewhat of warm-ups today. I don't really fucking know anything anymore. So I just feel new, though. The smile has grown bigger, and life has gotten better to me, even though my problems have become more complicated. And I wanted that to be a statement, because I don't want to keep reiterating my confusion with my future and what's happening in my personal life. But my smile is growing, and my appreciation and gratitude towards life in general has just continued to blossom. And that's a really big step and a really big blessing for me, to finally be learning the lesson of the importance of just me being alive and enjoying other people and enjoying my loved ones and nature and life around me. And that's just that woo hippie in me that needs to re-click sometimes, because it's just so not about the mark we leave in terms of the work that's done, but in terms of the way that we allowed life to mark us. I feel is so important. When I walk away, that's what I think about. How much should I take, though? And I know I'm a firm, I always talk about, it's important the mark that we leave, what we leave behind. But I want to take too, and it's up for the taking, and the simple enjoyment of life is so overlooked. And, I thought about it too, was just kind of this assessment of how much do I actually fucking care about money? It used to be a huge driving factor in my life, growing up, not having a ton, always provided for, always loved very deeply. And I will always say I was extremely spoiled in love. And that is so much more than millions and millions of people can ask for. And I have extreme gratitude towards that. But I had a very complicated relationship with finances and money. And I felt this need to be free. And pre-sobriety, pre-healing, freedom looked financial to me. And I didn't know that, but deep down what I meant was to not have to worry about it. And now getting to a point where money is kind of at the bottom of the list is really awesome. But I've also assessed, like, I don't know, it's just a random point I wanted to make, that like to not care about money means to fully not care. It doesn't mean the fact that you are choosing a life that provides you less money, but you still have to worry about it. Do you understand what I'm saying there? And I don't like that dichotomy in it that I think people overlook about this whole like hippie lifestyle, like fuck money, but at the same time, that's something that you are going to have a complicated relationship and have to deal with. And I think at the end of the day, what I want innately is to be free of worry and to be free of the human chains that hold me, and how I fit into society without this pestering authority that looms over me that I obviously have a complicated relationship with. So that being said, again, we're going to loop back to the fact that I'm a reject of most broadened companies, okay? And I can't lie. Today we're not lying. Not happening. Not that I lie here. But this is going to sound like me tooting my own horn so bad. I am not familiarized with rejection. I'm just going to fucking say it. I've never been not hired for a job that I went in for. I have gotten the person that I want. I have gotten the friends that I want. I have gotten to the places in my life that I want to. And it has been a wrestle dealing with constant rejections. And I understand that's the job market. But I do this thing where I picture myself in that job way before I've gotten it and what like this new life could look like because I have such a yearn for it. And I'm having to realign patience and like gratitude for the current space that I'm in over and over and over again. Because it feels like I'm trying to outrun something before I even have the gratitude to understand where I'm at. Today's keyword is gratitude, apparently. So I have been reassessing my relationship. I always really struggled with looking for signs and understanding signs from the universe. God, so happy be it. And I would ask for these things to come into my life. I would ask for signs and they would never happen to me. And for a long time, I thought that was because maybe there was nothing on the other side. And it caused me to completely give up on that factor because like, how are these other people getting signs? Like y'all are actually batshit crazy. Things are just happen in life. Simply, I didn't believe that everything happened for a reason. Sometimes I still don't side with that. I think we're really optimistic and cute for doing that. So I do partake, but do I necessarily always believe that? No, but I'm never going to turn down optimistic spin on things. Okay. So recently I have been asking for guidance over and over and over again. And recognizing that I ask for something and I ask for a sign and then I forget I asked for it or I don't know how to recognize it as such. And today I got re-rejected for a job. And it was kind of, obviously, it was kind of like the first time that I was like, this is like a road sign. This is the sign that I have been asking for. And recently this week, there has been so many synchronicities and just past like 2 weeks and random things happening in my life from focusing on that guidance. And whether that's an inward piece coming out and silencing, I really struggle with clarity. And I think it's deep down this unwillingness to trust myself because I'm worried that I'm going to take myself down the wrong path, which is a fair worry to have from somebody who's a fucking addict. Curse word immediately. Sorry about that. Fair trust issue to have, I would say. But lost my train of thought there. This is why I write things down because my ADHD is just like, I can't. But it has allowed me to remesh. Like I always pictured my spirituality. We're all over today. Just ignore it. I don't care. My spirituality is like this thing that I feel like if I'm not working on it and meditating daily and journaling daily, which I do try to keep up with. And I do think that's important, especially if you struggle mentally with drugs, whatever. If that's not its own beast, that I'm not constantly rolling, that ball isn't just constantly rolling day in and day out. It's something I'm constantly thinking about, that it isn't existent in my life. And this week, those synchronicities that were just lining up, and I'm not going to spell them all out or go through all of them with you, but it was a reminder that follows me everywhere. And the power of whatever relationship you hold continues to follow you. And I really needed that reminder to learn how to mesh spirituality with my life daily. And that, I think, is really hard because it was something I worked so hard on. And what I think it really was me again with the gratitude and creating that space for it in my life to be innate, and for myself to be like aligned in this flow capacity that I feel blocky. And I don't know if that's a recovery thing. I don't know if that's just normal human shit, but I felt very blocky in pursuit of like everything in my life. Like, this is the time frame, this is the time frame, this is the time frame, this is how these things work. And I needed that flow to reappear. And I think the synchronicities have followed me since. So if you're somebody that struggles with signs and stuff, and I think that was from inviting spirit into my life, and what I talked about earlier, the power of life being such a part of my life in terms of the sky and the sun and the people around me and giggles, and shit like not being so deep. And I go through a lot of phases with that where things are just deep and they hurt me and they are that serious. And again, at the same time, I do think it's an optimistic twist because it's me. I'm taking an optimistic lens on this because I am finally in a place where I'm aligned with society to the point that it causes me worry, And that is really cool because it is something that I've never had prior healing before, or prior trying to be the best version of myself. Like, I didn't give a fuck. And it's a good reminder to have that in my life, that I'm so united with society and what it wants for me to some degree, to a comfortable degree for Maddie to still be free, that like I worry about that shit. So I don't know. I think it's nice to just have realign that optimistic twist to my life, which is something that is not always easy for me, for sure. And I really definitely have struggled with it in the past, that like if I would have been rejected from these jobs consistently 3 months ago, maybe when I was on here talking every other week about it, then I think it would have bogged me down a lot more. And it's important to have my own back in this. And this season that I'm in, relearning the importance of having my own back. And I think that helped a lot to stay off TikTok and certain social media. And enjoying my hobbies thoroughly. And I'll just talk about the gym. I'll just talk about it. Because we all know I love the gym. And I love exercising. And that's not me being a pick-me girl or whatever. Like, it is genuinely a big part of my mental health and a big part of my life. And it wasn't in the beginning of my sobriety because I was super careful about not making so many changes. I just recognized that is so important. And we've talked about discipline and stuff like that on here. And my biggest tip was to change one part of your life at a time. Like cleaning your room, you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. Like how people say, like, don't quit cigarettes, right? And I was thinking about vaping, and I'm like, I'm not a believer in quitting vaping. Like, I just don't believe in it. Anyways. What the fuck was I saying? I like this, like, unscripted, and it's not that my podcast is scripted, but, like, unnoted, but then also, like, the ADHD is just coming full circle in this. Oh, I didn't do the gym. I'm not even going to edit that out. We're just going to let it happen. We're going to let it ride today. I did not partake in the gym in the beginning of my sobriety. I did not like the idea of people basically coinciding fitness and sobriety, like it had to be the same thing. Something about that to me felt like it was exiting out people in life who don't partake or want to partake, and an overwhelming situation where somebody who is not healthy, aka an alcoholic and addict, prior to sobriety, that it's like too many healthy things and goodness at once. Like when we innately have self-destruction and honestly search for the bad in life to some degree. And that was hard for me. I really protested the idea of working out too. I always ate clean and stuff. And I think I just wanted to protect my EDs and the possibility of falling back into another trap of another addiction. And so, yeah, but basically, sometimes I wanted to make this point, and I don't know why the fuck it's so prevalent that I make this point, but like there are weeks that I go to the gym and I have my set days. Like I do the same thing every week, and I have for like a while, like a year or so now. And there are weeks that it's just like hard for me. And I'm just like, I low-key don't want to go though. Or like I don't finish my workout to completion, or I don't add weight, or I'm like, I'm not doing my warm down set in the pool, which is an extra 500 meters, which is takes me from 1,500 in a workout to 2,000. And I love swimming. It's really important for my mind. And you all know this. And then there are the next weeks where I just push through that storm of not wanting to go, and I just define myself for the week and I call it. And the next week I'm just like craving to be there, and I'm loving every second of it, and I'm loving pushing my body, and I'm loving the fact that I take care of myself. And it is just like such a self-care moment for me, because the gym and exercise and diet before looked so disordered. Whenever I say stuff like that, sometimes I'm like German, like 1/2 hour, 2.5 hour. If you know, you know. So we go to work for like 1.5 hour, 2.5 hour. And then we take lunch, take a cigarette break. I'm not explaining that either. And there's just so many ebbs and flows within. I feel like the past 2 weeks, I don't know why, but it's a good representation of where I'm at mentally in my life, when I don't want to try and I feel beat down, of when I just like want to keep trying, and where me failing is like genuinely pushing me, and not in like a try hard, not in a pick me way, but like there is a failure aspect that I crave to need, because I know I can do more, and I know I can push forward, and in a way of emotionally too, and in a way of like self-confidence, and of just being a force to be reckoned with in life in general. And I like when I'm ignited with that, when I'm hungry almost for failure, because the things that I choose, the things that I love in life, are going to cause me failure over and over again. And also, I think what I'm trying to say to some degree is keep pushing through the days that you don't want to go to the gym. And it can even be like weeks at a time. And then all of a sudden you're back in the place where you just fucking love it again. And it's just like, it's that flow. So I guess we started with kind of a life update, where we're at. And I did have one warm up I wanted to talk to you guys about, because I just have to know if anyone knows. Gerald is this dolphin, y'all. This man got washed up in Florida. No drugs, no alcohol in the system. Could never be me. I always think about that. Like, my piss is clean, and I love that about me. I love that about me. And he had seaweed in his lungs, which, like, circle back. Seaweed in the lungs. Was he smoking? Is that what they smoke? Is that what the dolphins smoke? We're getting there. Hang on. Water in his lungs as well. And they're like, hey, where were you? What are you doing washed up on this beach with seaweed in your lungs? And he's like, Gerald, this man is an underwater welder. Gerald, dolphin. Which first, okay, all right. Kidnapped me and asked me to work for him to build this underwater city. Gerald never comes back for round 2 of interviews. I felt that, man. I feel you for that. Failed. He was rejected by the fucking dolphins. And obviously nobody believes him, right? Clearly, this man, a dolphin didn't come get you. But do I believe him? Of course I do, to some degree. Here's what I'm thinking. One thing that doesn't add up. Why would they name a dolphin Gerald? That does not seem like a dolphin name. The name, I think, will be more ethnic, if you will. I don't know. More slippery, more blubbery, more ethnic. I'm just not feeling Gerald for a dolphin name. And maybe that's like dolphin racism of me, to not recognize that dolphins are just dolphins too, man. Like, they're just dolphins. You don't hire an I'm like a pastor. You don't hire an underwater welder who is just batshit crazy. They have to go through some type of testing mentally, some type of cognitive ability, because that's a liability right there. Some crazy man underwater welding for you? Hello, liability. So even if this man, and it reminds me of the beauty in the color of the disordered mind, of the schizophrenic, if you will. And how trippy is that? Won't even go into it. Have you guys ever heard of pineal gland cancer? If you haven't heard of pineal gland cancer, I need you to stop and I need you to go look it up if you like trippy things. The whole humanity is insane. And because if this man was just unmedicated, embarks on his work business, if you will, normal to some degree, normal enough for his supervisor or whoever to let him go out. Within 2 days, if he's unmedicated or he has like some type of mental attack, if you will, and he's batshit crazy, then how colorful is that schizophrenia? How colorful is that disorder? That's all I'm saying. But things kind of add up to me. Like, I just kind of believe them. And you know why I think I believe them? Because, like, you know, in movies when crazy shit happens and everyone's like, I don't believe her. Nothing's following you, you crazy bitch. But something is. Like, it's kind of giving me that. Like, why don't we start believing them? We've seen the movies. It's not like we're going to go find Gerald. Just believe the guy. I don't know. I want to meet him to, like, know more. I wish that, like, this podcast was more established and I had interviewed people before, because I would love to have him on if I got to find this guy, because, and he had a mean sunglass tan. Mean. So it's like, how would you have a sunglass tan if you're just lost at sea? But if you're in an underwater city, maybe it's like a whole bubble, a whole realm. You're at the pool and shit while you're building the city, you know, like farmer's tan. Like, it's like Sandy's bowl is what I'm picturing in SpongeBob. Because if you're just lost at sea, like, you would have lost the sunglasses by now. I don't know. And his picture was very mugshot-esque. And I'm like, all right, can we, like, at least be nice to the guy? Like, we started being really mean to crazy-ass people. And it's like, he's got no drugs or alcohol in his system. Been talking about this far too long, but if you're interested, which you're not. So, 22 minutes. How are you guys feeling? Hang in there. How are you feeling? So, I guess today we are going to talk about a little bit about sobriety and dating. Okay, sobriety and dating. And we have made an episode similar to this in the past, at the very more so beginning of my podcast. And then we again talked about my celibacy journey to some degree. But since then, I have had the great pleasure of falling in love with myself and with another individual in sobriety. And I just wanted to talk about, just kind of touch base a little bit on it, rehash it out. The main point that I want to make today is, I'm sure I'll have many points. But previously in my life, love was a very juvenile thing. And when I say previously, I mean up until the current relationship I'm in. And I will be touching on this very lightly because my relationship is private and not to be for the internet. So, like, we're not going into too much in depth here. But even through my sobriety, even through celibacy, I did not understand love and relationship to the extent I do now in my current relationship. And I think previously, I really struggled with this. Not only was I using people simply, and in my addiction, in my alcoholism, even prior to that, it was a lot about how I get a leg up in life. And that was a way that I operated. How do I get free things, and how do I feel validated for free in a way that I would be doomed to understand, because that's not like the right word. I don't know. Because a little bit kind of weird to say, I guess, on the internet, but I sexually presented myself to people, and I thought, I'm not calling myself a whore, but like in relationships. And I was a very like dater girl. Like through high school, I only had a few relationships. Like I've always been a very hopeless romantic, and I've always been a lover girl. But to me, the way for men to love me was through sex, essentially. And I'm sorry for any family members that are watching this right now. And I just really had to struggle getting that out because I didn't know how else to say it. And in my brain, that was how I would be loved. And it was because I was deeply insecure about myself and about my body. And I was hungry for validation to some degree. And I just wanted to touch base on that because I think I didn't even recognize that in myself until pretty far into healing. And that was, I think love in each of our brains is illustrated so differently. And I think we don't recognize it as what we are yearning for, what we wanted as a kid and or what we didn't have in relationships. My camera's going to die. Hold on. So what I'm trying to get at is I think to some degree, we are not there to bond and combine with the other person. We are there subconsciously to gain. And, that was obviously spread and reflected to me through other relationships in my life. And when I got into healing, I was assessing primarily those relationships in my life. So friends and family and platonic relationships, not in terms of love. And I recognize that as a pattern that, I'm here to gain. And to some degree. And I didn't shit all over myself for that because I realized that that's how love is presented everywhere. And that's because we live on a selfish planet and we live in a selfish human race. And ridding myself of that while learning to not be walked over and learning how to love myself was a hard thing to navigate. And I think it really helped. We're not going through this chronologically today. We're just yapping, but it really helped in my current relationship in life, and in this more mature way of love to assess my selfishness. And because love is selfless and love is like not pointing fingers because there's always going to be 4 pointing back. It's like offering myself up in this way that's honest and true. And in a reflection of intimacy was something that I didn't understand either. Intimacy was when we touch each other, when we kiss each other, when we hold hands. It wasn't like this brave and honest thing. And intimacy is naked, but it's naked in terms of what you are representing to the other person. And how brave are you willing to be? How far are you willing to go to let them see you? And that is a really hard thing for me. That is something for me that I closed every single door continuously in my life. I would let somebody in, but there's another door. There's trap doors. I'm shoving things so far that you are having to really pull out of me to understand these raw ways that when you are in partnership, that other person needs to understand you. That might not be something that needs to be reflected in certain friendships or even parent to child, even sibling to sibling. But in those true relationships, that is being absolutely bare naked. And that is what partnership bloomed into for me. And that's a lot of the words I use now. That's my partner in life. That's not my boyfriend. That's not somebody I just share love with. That's somebody that I'm partnered with in my life. And it's so serious to me now. Before like I said, I was always a hopeless romantic and I craved love, true love. And I would write about it and I would think about it. And I was a girl about it. And I've always been extremely sensitive too. It's just the way I am. And when I look back, I think it was me subconsciously. I was yearning to not be so lonely anymore. But I wasn't willing to go to the depths of somebody else seeing me in that way. And again, just like I said, learning selflessness is what united me with this beautiful relationship. So did learning vulnerability. And again, just kind of opening those doors, I guess. But it was interesting because I had a thought the other day and I remembered, and I just love my boyfriend. Okay. I just truly do. And I was just kind of thinking, and it's kind of what caused me to make this episode about this a little bit today. And today I'm just kind of speaking from the heart. We're just brushing on it. It's not super in depth, but I was looking for a relationship in active addiction. I was searching for somebody else that used as much as me. And it was something I couldn't find. So I was single and it was I wanted a boyfriend. Would I have known what to fucking do with a boyfriend? No, not at all. But I wanted to me, that's somebody that understood me, that could use as much as me and be as crazy as me and be up until 4 a.m. Everybody's always fucking falling asleep on me. That's how I felt. And like, I'm talking about like friends too. Like, I'm not talking about in relationships. Like, my friends are always falling asleep. Like, somebody has to be as crazy as me. Like, I was looking for that. And it's so funny because I found that in my sobriety. Like, that's people that I share the rooms with, people that I share similar story to, is like, post healing is when you find that. And I don't know, I think it was such an interesting thought that I had, because I kind of forgot about that. And like, how fucked up do you have to be in the head, you know, like where you're like, I need somebody who loves cocaine. And like attracts like, you know, didn't happen for me. So, and then obviously getting into sobriety, I chose celibacy. And again, something we're not going to talk too much on today because we have an episode on my celibacy. But, and I don't even know if that's the right word, I've come to find. I think it looks good on like paper. Like that's what makes sense to me in my brain. I don't know if celibacy is never ever having sex, or if that's like me choosing a lot of period of time. I don't know. Okay, leave me alone. My head is like actually spinning right now. It's like, what have I even said so far? Like, I don't know, because it's not on paper. To love somebody is a very deep privilege. Very deep honor and a very deep privilege. And to love somebody in the way that I get to now. And I couldn't stand on my own. I wouldn't be united with that if I didn't try to comprehend myself the way that I did. And so I didn't give up dating. I didn't give up sex. I didn't give up flirting in this hopes of gaining a great love in the back of my mind. And it was still always a piece of me, that hopeless romantic that was really hoping that I would be reunited with somebody someday. But what was important was what was in front of me, and it was remaining sober. And what was not important was trying to fit back in that mold of being with somebody else. And I don't want to dive too deep on this again because we have an episode, but it's a very interesting spot to be in, because you're so fucking vulnerable, and not vulnerable in the way we say it, like vulnerable, like you don't have your weapon with you when you're beginning sobriety, or even in early stages of it. Like, and I'm still in early sobriety. Like, I'm still not even at 2 years yet. So, but it's like, you're so susceptible to other people around you, and it's so easy to fall into a pattern of what you used to present yourself as to males, or the way that you used to camouflage yourself into a relationship. And for some people, that is trying to be somebody they're not. For some people, that's not handling relationships well, that's reverting back to anger. Or like, I have this thing, and I say have because it's something that I still face sometimes, where to me, I couldn't understand the difference in conflict and conversation. To me, I am very extremely defensive when we talked about it. So somebody coming at me is in any sort of way that's not like, I love you and you're great and you're amazing, that I'm going to take that as conflict. And I'm going to get defensive over that. And that does go to like trauma to some degree too. But that was another thing that I wanted to enter when I met my husband, essentially, and who I want to be with for the rest of my life. I don't want my past relationships to be dragged into that. And that was the game plan. That's easier said than done, I will say. But that's the game plan. That, like, I don't know, to just completely get a clear slate before I ventured into dating again. So I did take the full year. And when the year ended, I didn't jump at the bits to find a relationship. I had so thoroughly enjoyed myself. And the beginning of it was like scary. People asked me if it was hard, and I spent a lot of my life alone. Like, I am not somebody that necessarily needs another person in her life. And like, I got a hand, you know, like, sorry, I'm sorry for anyone I know. I'm very sorry. But it wasn't, I struggled with people controlling my life always. I struggled with authority at a young age, and then I would struggle with people trying to tell me what to do to some degree, and or I'm hurting them and they want me to stop, and I'm like, no. Like, things are twisted in my head, and it really boils down. Relationships are so different in that version of healing than it is in healing yourself. And yes, like, I took over supplies and was able to assist myself in that. But like, it's just different. So basically, it wasn't hard for me to be single wasn't something that was difficult for me. I understand that's something that's very, very difficult for other people. So I don't want to exclude you in this conversation today about that. But I gained this relationship with myself that was so intimate and so deep and nurturing and understanding. And it was the first time I'd had that in my life. And I was high off that shit. I was high. To be at peace with myself was like something I didn't understand. And it was something that I knew I could never let go of that shit. The amount of work I had put in to be there and standing with my head high was something that like could never go away again. And like was going to be extremely difficult for me to work on. And so I made these like really deep vows and these really deep promises to myself. I wrote them on paper and I like told them to myself when I kind of like re-entered dating world that like I would never leave myself behind again. And that I would never leave behind my dreams or my wants or my wishes or what I wanted out of life. And that I would always choose me. Yes. Also understanding relationship in the way I do now, how important it is to mesh together our lives, but in the right relationship, that is encouraged for me. Those rules and those guidelines I set for myself, and that's not something I acknowledged with the person or necessarily took to the person off rip, like to scare them, like this is what I need. I made these promises to myself. It's encouraged because that person aligns with my views in life and the way, like a similar walk of life, you know? And so that's encouraged to me and instilled with me without even huge words needing to be said, and vice versa for the other person. So it was scary more so to enter back into that. I can't lie. And I feel like obviously the topic is sobriety and dating today. So I did want to touch, like, I got lucky. Okay. Like I also knew that through learning all this and through celibacy, dating was no longer just something that's fun anymore. It's not like going out and trying to meet somebody and having a good time. Like, I require a bond and a future with somebody, simply. And like, I can be firm on that to some degree. And so I knew that he was waiting for me, you know, like my future husband or it was out there somewhere, and that I had to have the patience to understand that our lives connect at some point in time. And I would like write about, like you've heard me talk about it, write about becoming the mother that I want to be and the wife that I want to be. And I would like find myself like writing about my future husband and like hoping that he was doing well. And I would find myself like praying for him. And like, it's so fucking cheesy, but like, I don't even know if I've ever shared this with him. So if you're watching, so cute. I never thought about this really until I'm talking about it. But like being like, I hope he's doing well and I hope that he's healing in the way he needs to and that like life is treating him well. And I think it allowed my nerves to settle when I learned the patience in that and not just jumping into a relationship and just finding somebody. And I struggled with that. Like I wanted love. I really did again. To some degree, like, and I knew that the person that I would find, and that is the person I found now, that like there would be nerves and like there would be like getting to know each other and stuff, but he already knew me and I already knew him. And that's something, you know, like when you look into each other's eyes, like, and it's like the cheesiness of like being home to some degree, but like we know each other though. And like, and we'll get to know each other and we'll have the giggles and we'll have the honeymoon stages and like we'll learn each other's fears and different things about each other, but like we know each other and like words don't have to be said to understand that. And I knew that the right person would make me comfortable. And people would say that to me, and my mom would say that to me, like, and it gave me the courage to like embark on even going on dates. Like I was nervous going on the first date with my boyfriend. I was sober and I hadn't been on sober dates, you know, and I was confident in who I was, but there's a difference. Like you're meeting, like it's fucking a little bit awkward and a little bit nervous. Like that's how dating is. And when you're like sober doing that, you're just like, I don't know. And I had that trust that like, to just go and just have fun and just trust that the right person makes you feel comfortable. And that's exactly what happened for me. Like, and again, I know I got lucky, but like take what you will from this, I guess, and how to apply it to your own life. But yeah, I had the patience and the patience was there. And I didn't jump at the bits to be back in a relationship. And I think I was really nervous too. Like, I didn't know what I wanted in somebody. I had known what I wanted to some degree in terms of kindness and nurturing and somebody to like lead me. And I do fall into like the classic kind of male and female categories. Like, sue me. Okay, sue me. Like that, like I want to be led in life, and that like, and it's not in a way of like I want to be provided for and like given everything in life, but there's a partnership that exists. And I fully believe in like man being made for a woman, and like brains in the same way as well. That like, I'm not trying to come off as homophobic, like ally, if that's what's happening in your brain at all. But like, I'm a firm believer in that. And I knew that I wanted that, somebody that understood their role as a man. And I think now in our society, and that I'm not saying this in that terms of way, I'm saying it in terms of men being lazy and not hitting that mark. And being sissies. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, literally, you're a pussy. And that's how I feel about it. Like, we take our role as women, some of us, you know, like, am I like pointing and there's 4 fingers back at me? Like, I don't know. But, and I think that's like not maybe taught to people, or the society of like softness that is happening to us. I sound so bad right now. But anyways, I knew I wanted somebody who understood their role and what they're supposed to fit into as a man. And like, not to say like, I'm going to have to do that too, you know? And like, I'm not perfect at it. But I didn't know if I wanted somebody that was sober also, which like in hindsight, like how could I ever be with somebody that wasn't sober? I don't know. Like, I honestly don't understand why my brain was like, I don't know, I think I could be with somebody that's not sober. And I just, for me personally, and I think what made me worried about being with somebody that's sober was because I had heard so many stories in the rooms. And I think I've talked about this. So many stories in the rooms of people that abused and or were victims of abuse, and or like you get fucked up and you start hitting people. You know what I mean? Like the classic drunk dad anger thing that exists in people who are drinking, and it's like, God forbid you relapse and like you start beating the shit out of me and like my kids or something, you know? And that's just so unfair. But I think that was also when I had a huge disdain for my alcoholism, and instead of accepting it for what it is. And you know, if I can change, other people can change just as greatly. And when you ask for your heart to be cleansed and nurtured like that, you're reborn to some degree, and other people have that opportunity too, whether they're male or female, you know? And so that was like a lot of what held me back. And I know it's crazy, and it might, like, some people might take offense to that, but it's just true. And I also didn't want somebody to like use that against me, because I'm very like honest and real about, like, I'm not perfect, and I'm very real about that. Like, just because I'm healing, just because I'm sober, doesn't mean that like I always do what's right, or that like I'm like, don't go back on my step work. Like, I don't do shit that's like not good sometimes. Like, and I was worried about that conflict being used against me. Like, I don't know if you're in the program, like I won't further explain that because of anonymity, I guess, to some degree, but if you're in the program, you get what I'm saying. Like that, like, well, you should do this because we're supposed to do this. And I don't like that, because like I want sobriety to be longevity for me. And that looks like me not being perfect, but me being honest and me trying, you know, like, because I'm a human at the end of the day. And that is something I accepted early in my sobriety. And it led to longevity. It's allowed me to stay sober. So I wasn't sure about that. But now that's like, to me, those are such stupid fucking finite thoughts to have, because it's just, I can't. And then I was nervous. So yeah, didn't know what I wanted. And I was not excited to explore that. I was not excited. I thought I was going to maybe like not necessarily have to date around, but like explore what it looked like for me. Do I want somebody that's sober? Do I not? Like, what the fuck? And I was really nervous for that, because I know for me intensely, and this is a lot of the reason that I stayed celibate too and didn't even flirt with people during that time, because like I take heartbreak extremely seriously. Like it heart wrenches me. It really does. Like, I am a lover, simply. I truly am. And it really heart wrenches me. And I knew that like I am devastated by love being lost. Like that's just how it's been my whole life. And I think now I obviously have a better head on my shoulders, but I knew it would make me crumble. And because I love so much, to some degree, like things represent death to me. And somebody being X from your life and just like the worries of going through heartbreak and like what you're dealing with. And I'm glad I took that into consideration at the time, because I think I was right. And like, who's to say that I wouldn't walk right back into a bar, back to a drink, because the pain was great to me. And that was also the same nerves I had going into exploring, because I don't know. I tend to invest in people, and I was worried of the outcome. So anyways, again, I got lucky though. And I found my man's like that. And I think it was the patience. I think I prayed for him. I think that I asked to be aligned with him. And I think that we both deserve great things in life. I think we both done a lot of work in our lives, and we deserve true love. And it's like very spiritual to me. Like, our relationship is very spiritual, and that's not an opportunity that I would have if I wasn't the best version of myself. If I wasn't sober, I wouldn't have this opportunity to understand love in this great way. And I think, when the time is right, people come together. I view love as, if you'll notice today, this conversation, it's so cosmic to me. It reunites this like spirituality in my heart, because it just feels so defying of logic to me. And I like am such a rom-com girl. Like, I love love and stuff, but this is where like I see answers don't just happen, like when I'm trying to ponder, where do I come from? Where do I go after I die? Who am I talking to on the other side? Like, all those pondering questions, like there's so many, I don't know, but we aligned here, and it's very cosmic to me. So anywho, it was also, if I was dating, and I didn't go on dates. So again, like, this is not something that I have talked too much about too, because I didn't have the experience of this. Again, I got lucky early re-entering the dating pool, but I was like, do I tell people I'm sober? Do I not? Like, what do I do? And I was very like, I don't want to go on a date with somebody and like, say I order a mocktail and they're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, I'm sober. Like, I didn't know. And I think my advice on that is to just be you. And that was another thing that like, I was encouraged without words being said, because I knew him when I looked at him, that I was encouraged to be myself, and all those questions dissipated in that moment. It's me and him, and it's me being encouraged without words to be an honest and true version of myself, because I know that's how he's representing himself. And there's something so beautiful in that. And I think to rely on that moment when it comes, and to not overthink it, whether you're going to say this, whether you're going to say that, because the right person, again, just like I said, is not a requirement of all these boxes and all these answers and all of this shit that we want to premeditate before we're even going on dates. And so I think more than anything, be brave and understand that, like, just like I encourage you to do things when your legs shake and when it's hard and when it's scary. And like, I relearned in sobriety too, that I'm like kind of awkward. I am, like, sue me. And it was so covered up. And because there's such like what is it? Not introvert. There's a huge extrovert piece of me. Like, that's a lot of who I am. But the introvert parts of me were covered by alcohol the whole time. So I didn't understand this like shyness a little bit and this awkwardness that I kind of have. And I didn't understand it even kind of through some of my healing. Through some of it, I saw like, okay, I'm low-key fucking awkward. Like, and I always attested it to my brain, like being fried from drugs, and just like socially in some things, like, I'm just like, I'm not there. Like, I took too much Molly. Like, it's as simple as that. But I don't know, to just like accept those parts of you, because they exist in everybody else too. And like, we all have our awkward things, or like there's awkward silences, and like, I don't know. So I encourage you first and foremost to look out for yourself, and to just go on the fucking date, and to just go have fun. And at worst, like, you made a friend. And I would say that my mom, and I said that before meeting my current boyfriend. I'm like, Mom, at worst I meet a friend. Like, I didn't trust that it was going to work out for me, which is just so funny now looking back at that. And my mom is the one that instilled that idea. Like, at worst you have a friend. And I'm just like, girl, like, come on, like, what the fuck? It's like not like you're actually going to be friends with them. I don't know. That's kind of bullshit. I don't know. Like, what? You're going to chat with them? Like, y'all are going to go shopping? Like, no. But I don't know. I think the experience is important, and it's like a way to experience life. And I think I also love like human behaviors and learning about other people. It's just something that interests me. And I think that was a beautiful part too of my relationship now that reflects again, is like, this respect that I have gained for somebody's heart, which it's a shame that I didn't have that before. And not necessarily just going around hurting other people, but in this, I was selfish. And the respect for somebody else's heart, and I'm not perfect in this relationship remotely, but like, because he has his own world in him. And like, I have my own world in me. And it's like, so to have respect for that. And I think I learned that through humility too, was understanding that people are just as complicated as me, and that people have like their whole own thought process and thing going on, and the way that the human brain doesn't represent in each other the same is so interesting. And I'm not talking about a female person to person. So interesting to me, the way that we go about things, and like none of us are the same in there. What? That's crazy as fuck. And that gave me a really big respect for people in general, but I think it brought it to respecting somebody's heart. And now like the way that relationship is for me is so different in regards to like, it also opened, and I think maybe this is like, because I am not perfect, you know, like I have not learned everything. I'm not the best to have. So like we're only going so deep, but I think the only advice I have for dating and sobriety as of right now is like, it opened up a world of me not being good at things again and not being perfect. And there was stuff to work on that I didn't even recognize in my healing. And at first that was kind of like, I thought I did this. Like, I thought I was better than this. But like, love is intense, and it makes you feel intense emotions. And taking accountability of that sometimes is like, it's hard-headed. Like, love makes me hard-headed, and I can't lie about that. Like, something about it. It's just a new world of new bad habits, new closed doors, new fears, things that I had to assess. And I think it is such a blessing that this relationship be as deep and as cosmic as it is for me, and to mean so much more. And at the pit of it, just have respect for another individual. And again, not to be perfect, because it's just not something I can ask of myself. But like at the pit, I have deep, deep respect for that man. Deep. And because of that, I recognized not too long ago that like, you know, I made those promises to myself, but at the same time, this love has shaped me. Like, I am not the same person that I am now prior to meeting him. And it's because my heart has been blessed by love. Like, that was the cheesiest thing for me to say, but like, it's so true. And it has shaped me in a beautiful way. And I'm like a different version of myself. And I think it's important to like ebb and flow with that. And I was so rigid on who I was. The main difference of love before him and love with him is like seriousness, and like what seriousness means. Because before, I'm thinking seriousness and commitment just means you're with somebody for a bunch of years. Okay. But like, seriousness is sacrifice, and me being intimate in the ways that like I show who I am really and nakedly, and it's something I still work on. And I think sacrifice is a big deal, and it's just like about meshing lives together now versus you just being you and just free floating and doing whatever you fucking please and hoping they fit into you somewhere, and like compromising with each other. And I feel like I'm getting a little in depth about my current relationship, and like, just know y'all, I'm in love for real. Like, I can't. And I'm very, very thankful and very blessed to be loved and understood in the way that I am. And again, like, it is somebody who is the best version of myself, and he's the best version of himself, and we get to unite, and like, it's a beautiful thing that I wouldn't have. So if you're looking for a reason to stay celibate and to stay working on yourself, know that you are building the best version of yourself to be able to be like in some degree of service to somebody else, and like to honor them and honor your relationship. And yeah, I'm touching a lot on that. So what I did want to review, which I don't know, my boyfriend's watching this, so like, I don't know, it's going to be a little embarrassing. Obsession. So this was something that scared me in the beginning of our relationship. So, and again, I don't want to show you too much into my personal life, but I really, really liked this guy that I met, right? My boyfriend. And deeply liked, like very much so. And like, he was taking over my thoughts. Like, I was like looking at pictures of him when he wasn't around, and like thinking of him, and like the smell of his sheets. Like, TMI. But like, you get what I'm saying. If you're a girl, you get what I'm saying. And he was just like slowly consumed. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about him. I literally couldn't. And I didn't like that. Because it represented to me obsession. And obsession is something I have removed from my life and something I worked hard to remove. And so it made me push the brakes. I got nervous, like, because I'm just like, I don't know. And I think that's good and that's smart of me. And I didn't take that to anybody else because I was kind of embarrassed how much I liked this guy, and because we only known each other for a very short period of time. But I kept being told to just enjoy it, because I remember talking to my mom being like, I don't know, like, I don't want to spend too much time with him. Like, I really do like him, and not going into the depths of the embarrassment of like the fact I'm low-key obsessed right now. But like, I was worried, right? Like, deservingly so, whatever the word is. And everybody just kept telling me, just go have fun. Like, you deserve love in your life. Like, just go have fun. And I took that advice, and I just kind of like, I dove in, and I found the beautiful love that I did now. And so I think it's important that if you're somebody that used to have obsessive tendencies, and I didn't have obsessive tendencies towards people, like towards relationships, but I did towards drugs and alcohol, and towards the way I look, and just like different bullshit. Like attachment styles, whatever. So I think it's a good red flag to like at least talk about it, okay? And people might tell you to go have fun if you've done the work. And that's why people told me to do that, because they had seen me do the work, and they knew that I was fully capable of being on my own and looking after myself and looking for red flags within my own behaviors. That's why I was encouraged to pursue. But I think if you have those pop up in your head, it's good to go talk to other people about it, whether it's your sponsor or a family member or a friend, somebody in your life where you're like, I'm going back on old ways, I feel like, and I don't want to do that. And so I don't have more advice on how to handle that if that arises within you, if you are somebody that is like me when it comes to that. And that was just because I fell in deep love, and I hopefully found my husband, and that's how I feel about it, period. So because I don't really have the answers for that, and I dove in, everything was fine. I didn't end up like overly it was a love obsession, and I was just scared. I was scared of love. I was scared of falling in love, and I wanted it, and I was all in, but at the same time, like, I was afraid, and like, I didn't express that, and I'm glad I didn't. I expressed it to like one of my friends one time, and was just like, and again, got the answer that I deserved it and to keep going, and got encouragement on it. But I kind of just knew, like, there's just a lot of, and I love that love, the way we're talking about it today is like, I didn't mean for this to happen, but we're illustrating it as so courageous and brave. And I think that's true for true love, for the way that a mature relationship looks now for me. In terms of sacrifice and of like really trying to let the other person in and compromising with them. I feel like I embarrassed myself or said things I shouldn't have. I don't think I can say anything else. I think I've said enough. Like, enough. And you just have to, I think also, like, you have to have the willingness to work on yourself, which I am very hard-headed, as we all know. I'm very stubborn, extremely. And without sobriety, I would not have that willingness, or healing in general, if like you're not a sober person. Like, just the willingness to take criticism and to work on yourself, and knowing that it's coming from a place of love within the other person is really important. So, and in a way, like, understanding what it means to in a relationship when somebody wants what's best for you and is pushing you in that direction. And I don't want to reveal too much, but like, that was something I struggled with, was like, and that's just because I'm a sensitive girl. Okay. Like, I'm sensitive, and to understand what that truly means is you're not always getting the answer that you want. You're not always going to get the answer you want, the advice you want, somebody to have your back in the way that you want. Somebody really pushing you towards your best self sometimes is different than what we think. And we want like just this safety and just this constant nurturement, but true, honest relationship that is a breathing thing that is true, like, that requires some testing of the waters and of pushing each other in the right direction. And that doesn't always come out the way we want it to. And it's not always roses and daisies when it comes to that. And so I think too, I'm just blessed because I love my man and he's taught me a lot, and it's just the beginning. So, and I'm not going to keep touching on it, but you guys see my smile. Okay, I'm happy. It's a bond that requires you two to be on the same team. And I spent a lot of my life versus me versus this, me versus that. And like, that is just a natural occurrence in the way my brain works. And I think other people have that too. So I just wanted to illustrate that. And yeah, today was more about love, I think, than necessarily sobriety and dating, because I got so lucky. And again, I don't have much advice to give on that, except for to remain true to yourself. And if you are somebody that falls quickly to other people and the way that they are, make those promises, whether you write them out or you are constantly telling yourself that. It's really important. And take that season of celibacy, girl. We all know what it did for me. It like changed my life and led me to my man's today. So that is really it. And I need to shut the fuck up and I need to get on with my day. So I love you and I hope you have a great week. Bye.